AITA for treating my wife exactly how she treats me until she begged me to stop? I am a 37-year-old man, and I have been thinking for a while about publishing this story. I tell myself that maybe someone else is in the same situation and could take something from my experience. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Jacob. I work in cybersecurity. Yes, I am pretty good with computers and all that kind of stuff. I have always been the quiet, reliable guy, the one who works hard and follows the rules. I grew up with my father teaching me respect and the value of hard work, while my mother taught me how to cook and take care of myself. My father always said never let anyone walk all over you. But I guess I forgot that lesson for a while. I met Olivia, 35, at a friend's barbecue in 2017. She was gorgeous, blonde, athletic, always dressed like she stepped right out of a magazine. She worked at a marketing agency, earning a decent salary, but nothing compared to my pay as an IT security analyst. We had been married for 3 years, after dating for 2. Honestly, the beginning was incredible. We could not keep our hands off each other. Everything seemed balanced, and we both genuinely made an effort to make it work. I cooked. My father's famous chili was her favorite dish. She cleaned. I fixed whatever needed fixing around the house. She managed our social calendar. We both chipped in for the bills. It was a partnership, you know? But after our first wedding anniversary, things started to change. At first, it was little things I did not really notice. She stopped making the special meals she used to make. She started showing less interest when I talked about my work or my hobbies. She began demanding more while doing less and less of her share. I always made excuses for her. She is stressed with work. Her mother is causing her problems. She is tired. In short, I invented every possible explanation except the most obvious one staring right at me. I was being used for stability, social status, and money, while receiving less and less in return. My friend Mark, whom I have known since high school and who works in construction, noticed it before I did. Man, every time I see you guys, she is on her phone ignoring you while you carry the whole load, he told me during a poker night. I laughed and told him to worry about his own marriage. I should have listened to him. The moment I finally woke up came after a 16-hour day handling a massive security breach at my company. I got home exhausted at 11 p.m. No dinner, even though she had been home all day. The sink was full of her plates from breakfast and lunch. The laundry I had asked her to do had not moved. But strangely enough, she had found the time to get her nails done for $200, eat a $90 lunch at that trendy downtown bistro with her friends, and buy a new $350 handbag. Her Instagram story with the caption, "Treating myself because I deserve it," confirmed it all. When I asked her about the household chores we had agreed to share, she literally rolled her eyes. "I did not get married to be a housewife," she said without even looking up from her phone while texting her best friend Lauren, another spoiled princess married to a banker. "Are you kidding me?" I said, my voice rising despite myself. "I just worked 16 hours to stop our company from losing millions in a cyber attack. And you cannot even put the laundry in the dryer?" "Stop being dramatic, Jacob," she snapped back. I had a busy day too. That busy day was literally a spa day, according to her posts. I told her I was not asking for a housewife, just a partner. That is when she dropped the sentence that changed everything. She told me flat out that she wanted the perks of marriage without the responsibilities. "What exactly do you think you bring to this relationship?" I asked, trying to keep my cool. She looked genuinely surprised by the question. "I am your wife. My presence should be enough." Then she gestured at her body like she was a prize on a game show. "You should be grateful I chose you. Do you know how many men would kill to be with someone like me?" Then she listed her so-called contributions. She accompanied me to work events where she spent the whole time networking for her own career. She maintained her appearance using my credit card, and she had not been in an inappropriate relationship with anyone else, at least to my knowledge, as if fidelity was a special favor rather than the bare minimum in a marriage. Most men would be thrilled to have an attractive wife who was intimate with them. She actually said those words to my face. I was speechless. That night, I slept on the couch. Why? Because she had invited her toxic friends Lauren and Heather over. She was drinking my expensive whiskey and howling with laughter at a reality TV show while I needed to sleep before another workday, and something broke inside me. Not my heart, my illusion. I realized I was living in a totally one-sided relationship where I gave everything while she took everything. I had become a walking ATM with certain benefits, nothing more. The next morning, I went to work with a strange clarity of mind, as if someone had finally focused a blurry picture. I drove 45 minutes to my office in silence. No podcasts, no music, just my thoughts. I thought about the money I made, $140,000 a year plus bonuses, while she kept her own salary separate, barely $55,000. I thought about the house I paid for almost entirely, which she enjoyed without lifting a finger to maintain. I thought about how she used our marriage for her social status, all while treating me as a mere option. I called Mark during my lunch break. For the first time, I told him everything. "Sounds like you married my ex," he said. "It is time you grow a spine and show her that there are consequences." At first, I did not want revenge or drama. That is not my character. My dad raised me to be respectful and fair. But I was starting to understand that sometimes justice looks like revenge to entitled people. I wanted equality, or at least to stop being exploited. If she wanted the benefits of marriage without the responsibilities, then maybe it was time she experienced exactly what she was giving me. Nothing. That day at work, I opened a new spreadsheet. At the very top, I wrote Cold Justice Plan. Underneath, I started planning exactly how to give her precisely what she gave me. No more, no less, not just out of a survival instinct, but also as a shock treatment she desperately needed. The morning after that eye-opening conversation, I sat in my car before going into work and made a detailed list of everything Olivia had stopped bringing to our marriage. The list was depressingly long. Cooking. She had not prepared a single meal in 4 months. Cleaning. Her clothes were constantly left on the floor. Emotional support. I could not even remember the last time she asked me how my day went. Intimacy. Twice in 3 months, and both times she lay there on her phone half the time. Financial contribution to joint expenses. About $500 a month compared to my $4,000 plus. And even the most basic respect. She constantly interrupted me and made fun of my hobbies in front of her friends. Yet she expected to enjoy everything. High-end living. Our $750,000 home. The social status of a married woman, literally written in her Instagram bio. Access to my premium health insurance, vacations with my family, my parents' lake house that she loved to show off on social media, and full use of my credit for her large purchases. I decided my first action would be financial. For years, we had a joint account where I deposited 80% of my income, about $9,000 a month after taxes, while she contributed irregularly, claiming her marketing job did not pay enough. Meanwhile, she kept a separate personal account I had no access to. When I checked our joint account that morning, I discovered she had withdrawn $1,700 to go shopping the day before, all while claiming we needed to cut back on grocery spending because inflation is killing us. Those were her exact words when I had wanted to buy steaks the week before. That afternoon, I went to the bank and opened my own separate account at a completely different bank where she had no ties. I transferred 75% of the funds from the joint account, roughly $22,000, leaving just enough to cover immediate bills. I then set up my direct deposit to only send a fixed percentage to the joint account, exactly equal to the percentage of her income that she contributed, which was about 12%. The rest would go to my new account. I also immediately ordered a new credit card solely in my name, with rewards points that would only benefit me. My friend Chris, who works in banking, helped me. "I have seen this 1,000 times, man." He told me, "Guys letting their wives bleed them dry. You are doing the right thing putting a stop to it." When I got home that evening, she was waiting for me with that calculated smile I now recognized as her manipulative face. Head tilted, one hip popped, that fake innocent look. "I have been thinking about our conversation," she said, walking toward me, wearing the tight dress I had once complimented. I was stressed. "You know I appreciate everything you do." Her hand slid down my arm as she mentioned wanting to book a weekend at a Napa resort for $900 a night, which she clearly expected me to pay for entirely. "Sounds nice," I replied in a neutral tone. "We can split the costs equally since we both work." Her smile faltered for a second before she recovered. "You know my job does not pay much. I thought you could pay for it as a gift. Plus, Lauren and Kyle are going the same weekend and already booked." So it was to keep up with her friend. Classic. The entitlement in her voice was glaringly obvious now that I was truly listening. Every sentence started with "I want" or "I need," but never "we." I am cutting back on expenses, I said simply. I updated our banking setup today, so it is more proportional to our incomes. The calculated warmth vanished instantly. Her eyes widened and her face turned red. You did what? Without talking to me first. She stomped her foot like a child. The irony of her demanding a discussion about financial changes when she had been making withdrawals without consulting me for years did not escape me. I did, I explained calmly. You keep your personal money separate, and now I am doing the same. I will contribute proportionally to the joint expenses just like you do. About 12%, based on my calculations. 12% is ridiculous. How am I supposed to live on that? She screamed. The same way I am supposed to live paying 88% of the bills, I guess, I replied. The argument that followed was revealing. She accused me of everything from cruelty to betrayal, but was incapable of explaining why she was allowed financial independence while I was not. When she realized I would not cave, she changed tactics. The fake tears I had fallen for so often, the strategically running mascara. She claimed I did not trust her anymore. Trust is earned through actions, I replied. Your actions show you want independence, not a partnership. I am respecting your choice by doing the same. But how am I going to pay for girls' nights out and my facial next week? She actually asked while crying. Not how are we going to pay the mortgage, but how is she going to fund her personal luxuries? The mask was officially off. Over the next week, I continued rolling out my reciprocity plan. I cooked only for myself, just as she had done for the past few months. I cleaned only my own messes. When she left dishes in the sink, they stayed there until she dealt with them. I did my laundry, but not hers. The breaking point came when she needed a ride because her car would not start. For years, I had dropped everything to help her in these kinds of emergencies. This time, I responded with the exact same excuse she had given me when I asked her to pick me up during a snowstorm. Sorry, I am in the middle of something important. You can call an Uber, I texted back. Are you serious right now? She replied. I am your wife. Yes, and I am your husband. I am just giving you what you give me. That evening, she confronted me directly. What happened to you? You have changed. Nothing happened to me, I answered honestly. I simply started respecting myself enough to expect reciprocity. I am matching your investment in this marriage. No more, no less. She went to stay at her friend's house. I felt no satisfaction, only a cold determination to continue down the path I had chosen. It was not a punishment. It was establishing boundaries after years of one-sided compromises. By the third week of my new approach, the dynamic between us had drastically changed. She returned from her friend's house after 2 days, expecting me to have come to my senses. Instead, she found me perfectly content with this new arrangement. The power imbalance that had defined our relationship was dissolving, and she clearly did not know how to handle it. Her first strategy was using physical affection as a weapon. After months of rejecting my advances with excuses of headaches or fatigue, she suddenly appeared in the bedroom wearing lingerie I had never seen before. When I politely declined, citing the exact same tired excuse she had used countless times, her expression was priceless. A mix of shock and indignation, as if her looks alone should automatically command my attention. Is there someone else? She demanded immediately, preferring accusation over introspection. No, I answered honestly. I am simply matching your level of interest. When you start showing a consistent desire for intimacy, instead of using it as a manipulative tool, I will do the same. This led to her second strategy, involving other people in our private affairs. The next day, my phone blew up with messages from her family members asking why I was mistreating her. According to the carefully crafted narrative she had fed them, I had suddenly become cold and controlling for no reason. She conveniently omitted the years of imbalance that had led to my behavioral shift. Rather than getting into details with her family, I replied to every message the same way. I appreciate your concern, but this is a private matter between my wife and me. Meanwhile, I documented every manipulative attempt in a journal, not out of pettiness, but as a reality check for when doubt started to creep in. Her third strategy unfolded during a dinner with our closest friends. It was a carefully calculated public performance. She was excessively affectionate, repeatedly mentioning things she had supposedly done for me, most of which had never happened. When our friends asked what our plans were for the upcoming holiday weekend, she jumped to answer. We are thinking about going to the lake house. He works so hard, and I want to treat him. The lake house belonged to my family. The treat would come entirely out of my pocket. Our friends nodded in approval at her apparent generosity. Actually, I chimed in calmly. We have not discussed any plans yet. If you want to organize a trip, we should talk about how we are going to split the costs. The flash of anger in her eyes was quickly masked by a laugh. Oh, he is so practical lately, she told our friends, gripping my arm with nails digging in a little too hard. After our friends left, she exploded. How dare you contradict me in front of them? You made me look ridiculous. I simply told the truth, I replied. If you want to present yourself as generous, make genuinely generous offers that do not rely on my resources. The confrontation escalated until she played her final trump card. My dad always said I deserved a man who would provide everything for me without asking questions. Maybe he was right. Maybe you just do not measure up. For years, that comparison to an imaginary perfect provider would have deeply hurt me. This time, I just nodded. You have the right to think that, and I have the right to expect a partnership rather than servitude. If that is not what you want, maybe we should reconsider this marriage. The fact that the idea of ending our relationship came from me, and not as a manipulative threat from her, visibly rattled her. The financial reality of a divorce suddenly seemed to dawn on her. Without access to my income, her lifestyle would change drastically. Her expression instantly shifted from anger to calculation. I do not want that, she said, softening her voice. We can work things out. I replied that it was possible, but only with clear expectations of reciprocity. That night, for the first time in years, she washed the dishes after dinner without me having to ask. It was a small gesture, but it revealed something essential. She was capable of contributing when properly motivated. The real test came the following weekend when my car needed repairs. For years, I had managed all the vehicle maintenance for both our cars. This time, I took mine to the mechanic, but left hers with its overdue oil change. When are you taking my car to the shop? She asked, clearly expecting me to handle it as usual. I am not going to do it, I answered simply. I take care of my car, you take care of yours. That is equality. As she tried to wrap her head around this new reality where her problems were no longer automatically mine, I realized something important. This was no longer just about saving my marriage. It was about saving myself from a lifetime of one-sided sacrifice that would eventually leave me empty. A month into my reciprocity plan, the confrontation I had been waiting for finally arrived. It all started with a credit card statement that came in the mail. $3,200 charged to a joint credit card, mostly for designer clothes and expensive salon treatments. For years, I had quietly absorbed her costs despite our agreement to discuss any purchase over $200. Those days were over. I left the statement on the kitchen counter and texted her saying we needed to talk about it when she got home. She replied with a simple whatever, showing she still had not grasped the fundamental shift in our dynamic. When she arrived home and saw me sitting calmly at the kitchen table with the statement in front of me, her expression wavered between defiance and calculation. She chose the strategy that had always worked before, distraction. You would not believe the day I had, she started, launching into a long story about work drama. I listened politely. Then, when she finished, I calmly brought it back to the topic. About the credit card charges, I said, tapping the statement. I am paying my share of the joint household expenses. The personal purchases you made will need to be paid from your account. She froze. That is not how we have always done it. The old arrangement was not working for me, I replied calmly. Just as you unilaterally decided that certain marital responsibilities no longer suited you. Her voice immediately rose. So this is a punishment because I am not your personal chef and maid? It is not a punishment, I corrected. It is a consequence. You wanted independence from traditional expectations while keeping the traditional benefits. I am only applying the same principle to our finances. What followed was the most honest conversation we had had in years. She accused me of changing the rules in the middle of the game. I reminded her that she had changed them first when she decided marriage was a one-way street of perks. She said I was being petty. I replied that I was being precise, giving exactly what I received. Do you even love me anymore? She finally asked with tears in her eyes. Tears I had seen before when logic failed and emotional manipulation became her weapon. I married you because I loved you, I answered honestly. But love needs respect to survive, and respect requires reciprocity. The argument heated up until she grabbed her phone and called her dad, putting the call on speakerphone with a triumphant glare. I immediately recognized the tactic. She was mobilizing her most powerful ally, expecting me to back down like in our previous fights. "Dad, he refuses to pay the credit card bill," she said in a suddenly small, victimized voice. Her dad's deep voice filled the kitchen. "What is the problem?" A real man takes care of his wife's needs without complaining. In the past, I would have crumbled under that pressure. This time, I spoke directly and assertively. "Sir, with all due respect, a true partnership involves mutual support and contribution. I am happy to discuss this with my wife, but this concerns the two of us." The silence that followed was heavy. Her father, unaccustomed to being contradicted, stammered before demanding to speak to his daughter alone. She took the call in another room, but I could hear her voice growing increasingly agitated. Apparently, her father was not giving her the intervention she had hoped for. She came back 20 minutes later, her face red with anger. "He says I should ask myself if this marriage is really working for me." "That is a fair question," I replied. "A question we should both ask ourselves. Is a relationship based on a genuine partnership really what you want?" Uncertainty flashed across her face. The script was not going as planned. Her usual tactics were failing, and she genuinely seemed to not know what to do without them. That night, a surprising shift occurred. Without a word, she cooked dinner for both of us. Something she had not done in months. It was not a fancy meal, just pasta with Jared sauce. But the gesture itself spoke volumes. She was testing if reciprocity could work in her favor too. As we ate in relative silence, I realized this was no longer just about fixing an unbalanced relationship. It was about finding out if there was still anything left between us worth saving, once the manipulations and one-sided expectations were stripped away. The fragile peace that settled in after our honest conversation lasted exactly 3 weeks before the final showdown arrived. During those weeks, we lived in an uneasy truce. She made occasional efforts to act like a real partner. She took on some chores, participated in decisions, and even initiated intimacy sometimes without an ulterior motive. On my end, I matched those efforts exactly, maintaining the principle of reciprocity while observing her closely. Then came the credit card bill from her weekend with Lauren and Heather. $6,900 charged to our joint account. The expenses included luxury spa treatments for $2,200, dinners at expensive restaurants for $1,500, shopping at high-end boutiques for $3,000, and even a session with a psychic for $200. All of this well over our agreed spending limit. What made it worse was that the statement had been deliberately hidden under a pile of magazines instead of being placed with the rest of the mail. When I confronted her, she initially denied knowing anything. "It must be fraud," she claimed. When I showed her the itemized bill with her signature, she switched to justification. "I work hard. I deserve nice things." She stomped her foot again. "I agree that everyone deserves rewards for their hard work," I replied. "But those rewards should reflect their contribution and come from their own income." Her eyes narrowed. "So you are refusing to pay?" "I am paying my share of our joint expenses as agreed. Personal luxuries are your responsibility." I could see the calculation in her eyes as her expression shifted from anger to a carefully played vulnerability. "I cannot pay this by myself," she admitted in a deliberately fragile voice. "My job does not pay enough." "In that case, maybe luxury spa weekends should not be a priority," I suggested. "Or maybe a better-paying job is worth considering. I believe Starbucks is hiring. They offer benefits too." She looked at me like I had just said something scandalous rather than bringing up basic financial responsibility that most adults handle every day. Then came the ultimatum I had half expected for months. "If you do not pay this bill in full, I want a divorce." The words hung in the air between us. In the past, a threat like that would have sent me scrambling to appease her, to save a marriage I had invested so much in despite the misery it caused me. This time, I felt an unexpected calm. "I understand," I replied simply. "If that is your decision, I will respect it." My response was clearly not what she anticipated. She immediately backpedaled. "I do not really want that. I just want you to understand how serious this is." "I understand perfectly," I assured her. "You are saying that if I do not fund unconsulted luxury purchases, our marriage is not viable. From your perspective, that clarifies your priorities perfectly." She tried a few more emotional pleas, accusing me of cruelty, bringing up memories of when we were happy. When that failed, she switched to threatening divorce and asset division, clearly thinking this financial leverage would make me cave. "You are fully entitled to an equitable division of our marital assets," I replied calmly. "I have already consulted an attorney regarding a fair split based on contributions." What I did not tell her was that I had been documenting everything for months, that I had already moved certain assets, and that I was taking advice from Chris at the bank, who had seen this scenario hundreds of times. The mention of an attorney silenced her for a moment. "You talked to a lawyer behind my back?" I prepared myself for the possibility that reciprocity would not be acceptable to you long term, I explained, just as you prepared for your financial independence by keeping separate accounts throughout our entire marriage. In the stunned silence that followed, I added, "I would prefer to build something genuine with you, but I will not go back to an arrangement where I give everything and receive almost nothing in return." She left the house without a word. Late that night, she returned for one final attempt. Seduction as manipulation, the strategy that had settled so many arguments in the past by bypassing any real resolution. I politely but firmly refused, explaining that intimacy should be an expression of connection, not a tool for control. This rejection finally seemed to seal the reality of our new dynamic. She packed a bag and announced she was staying at her sister's until you come to your senses. 3 days later, I received the divorce papers. But this is where my story takes a different turn than you might expect. My preparation had been far more thorough than she could have ever imagined. When she received my counterfiling, it included screenshots where she admitted in texts to Lauren that she intentionally hid expenses, bank statements showing her pattern of financial abuse, documentation of the true split of household contributions, 88% to 12%. Screenshots where she mocked me to her friends, and proof that she was planning to line up a new husband once I got my expected promotion. The following week, everything fell apart in her life. Her company announced layoffs, and her position was eliminated. Her toxic friend Lauren, going through a divorce herself, could not help her financially. Her credit cards were maxed out from the spa weekend and her shopping sprees. That is when the text started. "We should talk in person." I think I was too hasty. "Can I come home just to talk?" I did not reply for 3 days. When I did, I simply wrote, "You can stop by Saturday at 10 a.m. to discuss financial matters." When she arrived, the arrogant princess was gone. In her place was a desperate woman who had suddenly realized that actions have consequences. She had lost weight. Her designer clothes had been replaced by plain jeans and a sweater. "Jacob," she said, tears already welling up, "I have been doing a lot of thinking. I miss you. I miss what we had." "Which part?" I asked. "The part where I paid for everything while you contributed nothing? The part where you made fun of me with your friends? Or the part where you told Lauren you planned to replace me with a richer husband?" Her face went white. "You saw those messages?" "I saw everything, Olivia. The plans, the manipulation, all of it." "I did not mean any of it," she sobbed. "I was stupid and spoiled. I need you. I got laid off. My cards are maxed out. Lauren cannot help me." And there it was. Not, "I love you," or "I was wrong," but "I need you." More accurately, she needed my money. "So, just to be clear," I said calmly, "now that you are in financial trouble, you have decided our marriage is worth saving." She nodded eagerly. "I can change. I will clean. I will contribute more. Whatever you want." I took a deep breath. I want a partner, not a dependent who only behaves when she is desperate. The divorce is moving forward as planned. What followed was the most spectacular meltdown I have ever witnessed. She screamed, begged, threatened, all within minutes. She even got down on her knees, grabbing my legs, mascara running down her face. "Please, Jacob, I will do anything. I have nowhere to go. My parents will not help me. They said I made my bed." For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You had a husband who would have done anything for you. You chose entitlement over partnership. Choices have consequences. As she was leaving, she turned back at the door. "What am I supposed to do now?" "Get a job, Olivia. Like the rest of us." 6 weeks later, our divorce was finalized with terms heavily favoring me, thanks to the evidence. She got nothing beyond the legal minimum, which was not much given the brevity of our marriage and the documentation showing her contribution, or rather, lack thereof. Through mutual friends, I heard she moved into a studio apartment and took a job as an executive assistant, a huge downgrade from her marketing job. Her Instagram, once full of luxurious posts, went quiet. A year after the divorce, I received a letter from her. It was surprisingly reflective and sincere, acknowledging her spoiled behavior and her mistakes. Too little, too late. But it suggested she might eventually grow as a person. Meanwhile, my life improved dramatically. The promotion came through, bumping my salary to $180,000. I paid off the house, now solely mine, started traveling more, and reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my marriage. Mark introduced me to his wife's friend, Emily, a pediatric nurse who paid her own way, cooked incredible meals because she enjoyed it, and actually listened when I spoke. The difference was night and day. Last month, something unexpected happened. I was at a high-end steakhouse with my new girlfriend celebrating my promotion to Director of IT Security. $250,000 now, plus stock options. We were enjoying a $200 bottle of wine when Olivia approached our table. She was not a customer. She was our waitress. "Jacob," she said in a small voice. The expensive blonde highlights were gone. The designer clothes had been replaced by a server's uniform. "How are you?" "Doing great," I replied honestly. I introduced Emily, who gave her a polite smile. That is good," Olivia said, her eyes darting between us, lingering on Emily's hand resting on mine. "Can I get you anything else?" "Just the check when you have a moment," I replied. No malice, no triumph. I felt nothing but a mild pity. When she walked away, Emily asked, "Your ex-wife?" "Yeah. You never told me she worked as a waitress." "I did not know," I answered honestly. But it does not surprise me. Actions have consequences. When Olivia brought the check, she slipped a small note underneath. I waited until we left the restaurant to read it. "I am sorry for everything. I only realized what I had after I lost it. You were right about everything. I had to learn the hard way that the world owes me nothing. If you ever want to talk, I would like to apologize properly." I crumpled it up and tossed it in a trash can outside the restaurant. Emily looked at me curiously. "The past belongs in the past," I said. "I already have everything I need right here." 2 weeks after that encounter, I received a text from an unknown number. "It is Olivia. Please, can we talk? I have lost everything. I am being evicted from my apartment. I have nowhere to go. My parents will not help me. I made terrible mistakes. I know I do not deserve your help, but I do not know who else to turn to." I showed the text to Mark over a beer that night. "Do not fall for it, man," he warned. "Classic manipulation." "I have no intention of saving her," I assured him. "But I am curious what she wants." I agreed to meet her at a public coffee shop. When she arrived, I barely recognized her. The woman who used to spend $800 a month on skincare looked tired, worn out. Life clearly had not been kind to her since our divorce. "Thank you for coming," she said, wringing her hands. I do not know where to start. "How about starting with the truth, for once?" I suggested. She broke down right there in the middle of the coffee shop. Between her tears, she confessed everything. How she had taken me for granted, how she had used me, how she planned to replace me once I got rich enough. She also admitted to an incident with her boss, which I did not know about. And how karma caught up with her when he laid her off during the company downsizing despite their history. "I have hit rock bottom," she finally said. "I have $40,000 in credit card debt. I was evicted from my apartment. My car was repossessed last week. Lauren will not speak to me since her divorce. I have nothing left." Then came the real reason for our meeting. I was hoping maybe I could stay at the house for a little while, just until I get back on my feet. "I will not bother you. I could help around the house like before." Well, better than before. I almost laughed at the irony. Now that she was suffering the consequences of her actions, she was suddenly ready to contribute. "Classic Olivia," I said softly but firmly. "What you are experiencing right now is the natural consequence of your choices. The entitlement, the manipulation, taking without ever giving. All of that led you here. I cannot save you from that. But I will do anything," she pleaded, grabbing my hand across the table. "I have changed. I have learned my lesson. If you have truly changed, then you will find your way without using someone else as a crutch. That is what responsible adults do." As I stood up to leave, I placed $500 in cash on the table. "This is a one-time gesture. Not because you deserve it, but because I choose to be kind despite how you treated me. Use this money to buy a bus ticket to your parents' place or find a room to rent. After this, do not contact me again. The mix of gratitude and humiliation on her face is something I will never forget. I walked away feeling not satisfaction, but a sense of closure. I had given her exactly what she gave me during our marriage, the bare minimum. And now, I was free to give much more to someone who truly deserved it. 3 years have passed since the divorce, and 5 months since that coffee shop meeting. I heard through mutual friends that Olivia eventually moved back to her hometown, got a job as a receptionist, and lives with a roommate in a small apartment. Her social media has vanished. No more luxurious lifestyle to show off that she never actually earned. Meanwhile, Emily moved in with me last month. We split expenses evenly, despite my much higher income, because that is what she insists on doing. She cooks because she enjoys it, not because she has to. I take care of the yard because it relaxes me. When one of us has a bad day, the other picks up the slack without keeping score. That is how a real partnership should work. Sometimes my mind drifts back to that spreadsheet. My cold justice plan. The one that saved me from a lifetime of being used. In the end, it was not about revenge, even if the justice was satisfying. It was about respecting myself enough to demand reciprocity, about understanding that healthy relationships cannot survive when one person constantly takes while the other gives. The most important lesson I learned: people who truly value you do not see respect and contribution as optional. They give freely because they want to, not because they are forced to. And they certainly do not wait until they are desperate to start treating you well. So, to all the men reading this who recognize themselves in my story, you are not wrong. You are not selfish for wanting balance, and you are not obligated to fund someone else's entitled lifestyle. Stand up for yourself before it is too late. The right person will never make you fight for basic respect. Comment: I believe one of the kindest things you can do for yourself is to define your boundaries. It is the ultimate act of self-respect. True kindness is not about letting yourself be mistreated. It is about honoring your own worth enough to expect mutual respect. Healing truly begins when you take responsibility for your own peace and learn to protect it fiercely yet gently. This also means learning when to close a chapter without bitterness. You can still choose to be kind on your way out, but that does not mean you have to let them back in. Always remember to choose the path that leads to your own peace. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.